to the play. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 49 on the defense. 15-yard penalty. Third down. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Unsportsmanlike conduct.
This is Unsportsmanlike Conduct, Thursday morning pod. I am your host, Mike Silva. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, everybody listening has subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, of course, YouTube. You can check out the audio from the podcast on YouTube. Wherever you listen to podcasts, Unsportsmanlike Conduct, part of the Repertoire Network. Also, be sure to connect on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at therep.network. Also, a Facebook page at Repertoire TPN. So, Repertoire, of course, being our network of podcasts. Flagship podcast being Don't At Me, which, hey, got something for y'all. Another Don't At Me coming very soon. Episode coming within the next week. Sources say the Crispy Boys are back in the stew at the original spot, Spots Park. Recording that one tonight, actually. So stay tuned. Of course, subscribe to Don't At Me. You can follow all things Repertoire by hitting us on social media at the Rep Network. For now, time to talk a little bit of football. So far, the season has given us a couple of surprises, a couple of 0-2 teams that are a little bit surprising from an 0-2 perspective. We've also got a fair amount of teams that are 2-0, caught us by surprise. I give you a breakdown of all the 7 2-0 teams and all of the 7 0-2 teams on the Tuesday morning pod. So if you missed that, go back, give it a listen. Obviously, all of that is still relevant since that was 48 hours ago. But, just as a quick recap, in the last 20 years, 62% of teams that start out 2-0 make the playoffs. So that means of the 7, 4 to 5 are historically, statistically speaking, likely going to make the playoffs. Here are my pick for who those 4 are. And of the 0-2 teams, 12% make the playoffs. So that means 1 of the 7 is possibly going to make it. So I give you my pick for who I think that will be. So, of course, check that out. Tuesday's pod on the Repertoire Network on Unsportsmanlike Conduct feed. Make sure you tune in. Let me know what you think. Definitely want to hear from you all and join the conversation. So let's get started with this. Last week, when I did the Week 2 picks, oh man, that was kind of ugly, actually. So Week 1, 11-5, just straight up, not against the spread, just 11-5. This week, actually did better, 12-4. Again, that's straight up, not against the spread. Because if you look at my score against the spread, it is 6-10, and depending on where you look, maybe 5-10-1. So I'm not gonna dive into a bunch of picks. I don't want y'all wasting money. So instead of that, gonna switch things up a little bit. Do a bit of a preview for Week 3. Some things that jump out at me. A bit of a matchup breakdown throughout all of this weekend's games. Before we get into that, of course, I want to give a Super Bubble update. Quick update here. Really, it remains unchanged. Last week, whenever I gave those brutal against the spread picks, I also mentioned who I see in my Super Bubble. And in classic millennial nostalgia fashion, I give you my top 8 teams. Kind of the way that you can look at this. But not just, who are the top 8 right now. It's who are the 8 teams that I think have a chance to win it all. Bill Parcells, I think it was, used to always say, you are one of 8 teams competing for a title. You are, meaning the team that he's talking to, because he's coaching contenders. He's not going to say, hey, we're going to suck. Anyway, 8 teams or so are usually in that super bubble. So I've got, in no particular order, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've got Los Angeles Rams. Got the San Francisco 49ers. And I still have Seattle in there. Seattle Seahawks. Even though the defense is very questionable, which we'll get into, still think they've got a chance. As long as you've got Russell Wilson under center, you're going to have a chance to win the Super Bowl. So, that I'd actually like to hear a bold take on the opposite side, because you could argue, hey, he hasn't won in 10 plus years. What have you done for me lately, kind of thing. I guess it was actually 8 years, but either way, continuing with the bubble, I also have the Kansas City Chiefs. Their defense looks, but we'll talk about that. Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns, and the Buffalo Bills, which ironically all of the 4 Super Bowl AFC teams that I have are 1-1 right now. But look, we're in the middle of essentially the preseason. You see fewer and fewer people actually participate in the preseason. You see fewer and fewer starters playing. You've got some old school coaches like Andy Reid and Arians, of course, playing some of the starters some in preseason. But for the league at large right now, we're still very much in that preseason feel. And you see it in the defenses. The offenses have been lighting it up. No surprise there. The defense takes them a little while to get into that game shape. I heard Aqib Talib on a podcast recently was talking about usually it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, right? Catch that game shape, get right back into that mentality. People are out there fighting. They're not going to go out there and half-ass it, but it takes a little while to get things going. So, if you look at the combined record of the Super Bowl right now, 3 of those teams are 2-0. The rest of them are 1-1. And, it's a long season, even longer now, having 18 weeks instead of 17, so everybody plays 17 plus their bye. There's definitely opportunity for the Super Bubble to change. I still have it unchanged for right now. I think these are still the 8 teams within reach. If you want to look at who's just outside of that, I've got the Green Bay Packers. I think what we saw Monday is probably a little bit closer to what to expect from them this year. Even though I don't think they're going to be lighting people up, I don't think Rodgers is going to have the year he had last year, which is easy to say because he had 48 touchdowns, MVP season, 1 seed in the NFC. You all already know that. What really impressed me about them, which we'll talk about for Week 3, is their ability to get Aaron Jones involved. If they get the run game going, give Rodgers some relief, mix things up, keep the defenses honest, I think they actually have a pretty good shot. So they are kind of itching and clawing their way to get into that Super Bowl top 8, but they're just on the outside looking in. I mean, there's plenty of teams that I see in that Super Bowl currently that I could see dropping out of that, but I'm not ready to do that yet. The other 2 teams that I have just outside of that, the Arizona Cardinals, and that's primarily because of Kyler Murray. So far, he is balling his ass off. He's picking up right where he left off pre-injury last year when the team was 6-3 and he was wilding out. He didn't look great. The defense didn't look great against Minnesota. Well, not that he didn't look great. He did look great. He made a couple mistakes. But neither here nor there. I think the Cardinals, they're surprising me. I think the defense I had questions about. I had questions about the veterans that they brought in. It's not a bold take to say, the Cardinals are going to be a playoff team or contender this year. I just wasn't sure that, before the year. Now I'm starting to say, all right, well, reminded me that Kyler was hurt a lot of the end of last year. And their defense, while not very consistent, does have some high flyers. I think they'll be able to put up a bunch of points, sacks, turnovers, all of that throughout the season, depending on matchup. Right, and granted, they're still in the toughest division in football. Look, 3 of the teams that I mentioned in their division alone, I have in that Super Bowl top 8. So there's a chance they get into there. I think it's going to be all about how long Kyler Murray can sustain this level of excellence and what we're going to see from their defense on a consistent basis. The other team I have just on the outside, and this would be a distant third to the Green Bay and Arizona. The Dallas Cowboys. What? Oh, what? Dallas? They suck, though. McCarthy is, well, they've got a really good offense. They've got 2 really good running backs. Pollard and the other guy. Haha, just kidding. But seriously, though, Pollard and Elliott, you've got tons of receivers. I like what they've got at tight end. I mean, the offense looked pretty good. They were right there at the end with Tampa Bay. And they beat, who in my opinion is a playoff team, the Chargers in Week 2. For Dallas, it's always going to come down to the defense. But they've actually been pretty good at generating some pressure. They were in Brady's face a couple times Week 1. they were certainly in Herbert's face a lot, and it forced turnovers. It forced him to make some mistakes that you don't always see. So I don't think their defense is, top 10 or elite, but I think it's going to be serviceable enough, and it's a far, far, far better team, far better unit under Quinn than the team that we saw last year. Last year's team under Nolan on the defensive side, that was ugly. Distant from even those three teams, I would have, the Titans, the Raiders, and the Steelers. I still need to see a lot more from those teams. Tennessee, defense doesn't look all that great. Tannehill doesn't look exactly the same as he was with Arthur Smith calling the shots. The Raiders, they tend to do this to us where they'll get out to a decent or pretty good start, and then, the pumpkin, Cinderella midnight and all that kind of shit happens. Things all fall apart. And then for the Steelers, I think that they've got a good enough defense if they can stay healthy to be competitive. I think that they've at least got the kind of team that can beat anybody on any given Sunday. I just don't know how many times they will be the better team on any given Sunday. So, again, this is a distant, third tier. We're talking 14th best team in the league kind of thing. But I think any of those teams could, they've got to show me more to get to that next tier. And then, like I said, just outside that 8 is that second tier with Dallas, Green Bay, Arizona. Look, the top 8 remains as is. I'm just entertaining you all by giving you an update from who's just on the outside looking in. I think by the time we get to week 6, we'll probably have some definitive change in here. But you never know. After week 3, this group right here might be a little bit different. All right, going to do a preview of week 3 in lightning round fashion, zipping through each matchup, telling you what to look out for. But before I get into that, I'm going to take one quick break. So don't go anywhere, and I'll be right back.
Excuse me, I'm talking to you. Hey. JK. But what's up, everybody? It's your boy Jack Weiss from the Don't End Me podcast. Do me a favor. Head over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button when you get the chance, okay? The cool thing is when you subscribe, you'll be the first one to get all of our unfiltered takes on today's latest controversies, current events, society, and relationship talks from a guy's perspective right when it's published. How dope is that, right? So you can find our link on the show notes. Please help us grow. Spread the word about Don't At Me and the rest of our repertoire family of podcasts. All right, let's get back to it.
All right, week 3. Week 3 actually has some pretty shitty games, but there are also a lot of intriguing games. So we've got a potential NFC title matchup between the Rams and Bucs. We've got a Vikings-Seahawks game, which they're combined 1-3, but there's always weird shit that happens when they play. It's always entertaining. We've got a chance for the Raiders to go 3-0 over the Dolphins. We've got a Packers-Niners matchup. How many times have they met up in the NFC title game? Never going to put it past them to do that again this year, even though I think that they're distant from the Rams and Bucs. And then, other intriguing games on the slate, a lot of divisional rivalries. So we've got some good stuff ahead of us. But like I said, we've also got some ugly ones. I'm just going to start out with Thursday night football, going to the noon games on Sunday before getting into the afternoon games, night game, and then ultimately Monday night football. So this Thursday, a week ago or a quarter into week 2, this was a good game. You've got the Carolina Panthers, who are an 8-point favorite on the road at the Houston Texans. This would have been a good game, like I said, first quarter of the Cleveland Browns game, week 2, where the Texans go up 14-7, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, this team might fuck around and win this game. But, of course, Tyrod Taylor gets a hammy injury, which I feel like the fix is in. I feel like they're tanking for somebody here, and I don't blame them. Nobody thought they were going to be a playoff team, so it's not like, hey, it was a coin flip. Their over-under was 4, But still, Texans fans liked what they saw out of Tyrod Taylor. You got a professional quarterback, right? Not anymore. He's on IR for at least the next 3 weeks with the hammy injury. So you've got Davis Mills, the rookie, making his first start. Played a little bit at the end of that game last week. Didn't look terrible, but this will be his first start. Don't have a lot of confidence in that. You've also got Nico Collins on the IR. Justin Reed, Danny Amendola are questionable for Thursday's game. You know, it's a short week. Typically, I like to give the home team an edge there. But, I mean, there's a reason that this line keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. I mean, it was 7. Now I'm seeing it at 8. I'm sure by the time people listen to this, it's going to be 9 or maybe double digits. I like Carolina in this game because they're not going to make a lot of mistakes. The Texans are decimated with injuries on an already maybe B-team caliber roster. And you've got McCaffrey coming in fresh. Carolina is 2-0, wanting to get to 3-0, have people start talking about them a little bit, show them some respect. Their defense is a problem, and I mean that in a good thing for Carolina. They've got a pass rush. They've got a lot of young talent in the secondary. You got Horn. You've got Chin. I like Carolina in this game. That 8 spread is a bit, pretty decent-sized spread. But I like them to get out to a quick lead, just kind of milk the clock from there. If anything, I could see Houston getting it on a backdoor cover. But Carolina's winning this game, no question. Sunday night, noon games. We've got the Saints at the Pats, who are 3-point favorites in this game. So we saw Jameis kind of come back down to earth. After that 5-touchdown game in week 1, he has a 2-interception, no-touchdown game in week 2. On top of that, he's got 259 yards for the season. So after 2 games, he's got, very low production. You got to like what you saw from that 5-touchdown game, but I think what we saw with the Saints against the Panthers is more indicative of what we'll see for the rest of the season. I don't know how good their offense is going to be. Their defense is pretty smart. They have a good pass rush. So, I mean, the Saints will probably still remain that 8-9 range as everybody thought they might be. I know some people thought they were a playoff team. I don't see it. Look, we're 2 weeks in, so I might be eating crow in a few weeks. On the other side of the ball, you've got the Pats, who should have beat the Dolphins. I mean, if Harris doesn't fumble that ball, you're in Folk field goal range. There's a good chance that you're going to go ahead and give the ball back to Tua with, very little time left. I don't have confidence that he'd be able to get down the field and score. So Mac Jones, very proficient, but he's been just kind of taking what the defense shows him, right? Young quarterback tendencies with just kind of check down. Hey, here you go, 6 yards per attempt. Their leading receiver right now, James White, 94 yards after 2 games. A running back is their main receiver. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I like the Pats at, -3. I wouldn't be shocked if the Saints win this one just because I think both teams are very much in that, figuring out their quarterback preseason mode, right? The other thing to look at is the over-under for points total is 41.5. That's kind of, I could see it going under. I could see this being a 20-17 game. I don't know that I would bet it, but I would definitely lean on the under here. Not a lot of offensive production, smart defenses going up against quarterbacks that are either A, inexperienced with Jones, or B, mistake-prone with Jameis. So this should be a fun game, though. Next game up, Washington football team at the Buffalo Bills. 8.5-point favorites. As I'm looking at this, this is actually an interesting game. 2 playoff teams from last year. Buffalo gets a lot of, preseason love as a Super Bowl favorite, or at least possible, right? Washington still kind of in that in-between phase. They're in between names from the Redskins to whatever they will be named. They're in between quarterbacks. They got a couple journeymen, but they have a good defense. They have a good defense here. Going to Buffalo, though, is a tough gamble. I like the Bills at home. I like the crowd getting rowdy, and I have some concern with Washington's offense. But I do want to pose to you this. The quarterback matchup here. I'm going to just riff off the stats, and I want you to sit back and guess which quarterback from this game I'm talking about. So the 2 starters that we have for this game, quarterback A, has 458 yards on the year, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 74% passing. Quarterback B, 449 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 56% passing. So these quarterbacks have almost identical stats with one huge gap. Taylor Heineke is completing passes at a 74% clip. Josh Allen is looking like Josh Allen of old, completing 56% of his passes. I'm telling you, I said early on, I kind of want to see it from Josh Allen again. I have Kaepernick nightmares from, year after year regression. Again, this is completely unrelated to the kneeling stuff. As a Niners fan, I just saw it, and it scarred me to where now I have to see a second year of success before I can say, all right, this guy's real deal. I like Buffalo. I like them in this game. I think they win. I don't know how they win. Like, I don't know if it's going to be an ugly game or what. Just because I don't know if we've seen the real Buffalo at this point. Or maybe we have. And for Buffalo Bills fans, I hope that's not the case. Chicago at Cleveland. Cleveland is -7. Home favorites, of course. This will be a Justin Fields game. Andy Dalton is out. Matt Nagy made sure to tell you, though, that he's the starter when healthy. So it'll be interesting if Fields has a heyday and Dalton's healthy next week. And then what do you stick to your guns? Do you say, oh, I was lying, we changed our mind? Why say anything? Just, hey, we're gonna start the quarterbacks that are healthy this week. Leave it at that, Leave it at that. I understand not wanting to get Fields' ego boosted, but he doesn't strike me as that kind of player, and he's spoken out against the fans who have been kind of, booing Dalton or trying to bring Fields onto the field sooner. I don't know. Chicago, it's a weird situation. They're going to Cleveland against a good game or good team, one of the bubble teams, right? Cleveland's D, to me, is a little bit questionable. They have this ability to get a pass rush, and they'll make some plays here and there, but they give up a ton of points. And were it not for Tyrod Taylor, wink, wink, hurting his hamstring, I think the Texans were in a decent position and possibly win that game. I mean, they covered. They allowed 21 to the Texans, who people thought were going to be the worst team of all time. They give up 33 to the Chiefs, which who can blame you? That's one of my worries with Cleveland, but I also know they have a lot of dogs on defense. They got Clowney. You got all kind of people in the pass rush who I think could put some pressure on Fields. I think Nagy's going to do a good job getting the ball out of his hands quick, trying to do some more horizontal plays. But, I don't know if I like a rookie on the road in his first career start going against a playoff team. I think this is one of those, slow ball control, run the clock. I could see Cleveland getting out to a big lead and then just milking the clock from there. You're going to force Fields to throw. It could get ugly because Cleveland's a good team, but we'll see. We'll see what we get out of the Chicago team and their rookie quarterback, Justin Fields. The Colts at the Titans, -5 at home. Look, the big storyline here, who's playing quarterback for the Colts? Wentz is questionable, but does it really matter? I mean, we've seen bad Wentz so far, which I kind of anticipated. Look, the guy's coming off an injury. He's already got a bunch of bad habits in his head. He's still playing kind of hurt. I'm definitely not justifying it because, I'm just saying I'm not surprised by what I've seen from Wentz thus far. I feel like the team around him is good enough that when he's healthy, he should be able to figure it out. But he just can't snap out of some of these bad habits. So, of course, everybody's going to be watching the Wentz situation in Indianapolis. They're tied to him for at least the next 2 years, unless, they get out of it from after this year. I think it's about a $15 million cap hit, but still. You don't really have an answer at quarterback. Jacob Eason, if he comes in, I mean, he's got to be better than a hurt Wentz with bad habits, right? I don't know. Tennessee's defense is bad, but I think they're going to look good Sunday, especially going up against Eason or a banged-up Wentz. I like Tennessee to win this one. They're feeling good. They're feeling themselves. They got a huge comeback against Seattle. They're on the brink of going 0-2, getting stomped, 2 weeks in a row, and then they just kind of snap it together. I don't love the Titans long term. I don't know that they're going to be a playoff team. They have the pieces in place, of course, but, Tannehill, are we going to see, the Tannehill that we've seen in Tennessee, or are we going to see, is that all tied to Arthur Smith? I like them to win this game. I like the Colts still long-term, in this division at least, but, anybody can win this division, so who knows? We've got the Falcons at Giants. Falcons, this is a gross game. Don't watch this game. Don't bet it. It's just bad. Daniel Jones actually wasn't awful against Washington last Thursday, but this team they gave that game to Washington. They gave that game away. The Giants have a tendency to just shoot themselves in the foot. Atlanta, they look pretty good against Tampa up until 2 pick sixes on deflections. I don't know what to make of this game. This is one of those that I'm sure you'll see some cool highlights because it's 2 shitty teams playing each other, but I wouldn't watch a substantial amount of this game. I like the Giants to win this one, but only because they're the home team. I don't have a feel for this one really, and I don't know if you do. I don't know. Let's just move on. Next, we've got Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is 3.5 points favorites at home. The story here, you got Big Ben looking slow, looking old, banged up. He's apparently got an injury that I saw is going to, quote, alter his preparation for Sunday's game. I don't know what that means other than maybe he's not practicing as much. But he hasn't looked great. They told you earlier, coming into the season that Najee Harris is going to fix the running game. He hasn't done great. He's been, not for lack of effort, he's definitely gotten tons of usage, but they haven't really been able to protect. The offensive line hasn't been great, but it's also the same that you could say about Cincinnati. Cincinnati can't keep Burrow on his feet. Week 2, we saw that, and he made a lot of mistakes because he's forcing the ball out of there quickly. I see this one maybe being kind of close. I like Pittsburgh winning, though, even though they have a ton of injuries on defense, ton of questionable players for this game. But the interesting thing here, the points total is 43.5. That's exactly where I would see it ending up. Well, not literally because you can't have a half point, but I see it right there on that 23-21, maybe 23-20 score. I can see that being the final. I like Pittsburgh winning this game because the Bengals can't protect Burrow. Even with the injuries, Pittsburgh has a good pass rush, and they're at home. They're going to be fired up. I got Pittsburgh winning this game. I hope that they can keep Burrow on his feet, man. I really want to see how Burrow develops, and I want to see a good player develop there, not somebody with bad habits. Cardinals, 7.5 point favorites on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some people might say, hey, trap game? Have the Cardinals been reading all the newspaper clippings about how great they are and, Super Bowl team? Oh, yeah, Jacksonville's so awful that maybe they're looking ahead to their Week 4 matchup. I don't see it. They come off a bad win, the Cardinals being, they should have lost that game. If it weren't for Joseph missing a 37-yard field goal, the Vikings win that game. Arizona's 1-1. So I'm hoping for their sake that Kingsbury is in their head about, hey, we lost that game. We got lucky to win that game. Let's come out and show who we really are. I don't know. Their D is questionable. They show up sometimes. They don't show up other times. But they do have a pass rush, and they're going up against a young quarterback who doesn't really have a lot of help. There's not a ton of receiving talent. Running back, of course, with ETN out all year. Trevor Lawrence is going to be running for his life in this game. So I don't think it's going to be a trap game. I think Arizona comes out, gets a huge lead. Lawrence is just playing from behind, chucking the ball up, just trying to catch up ground. It's not a good spot for a young quarterback to be in. He's going to have a ton of interceptions this game. This year, just because of the people around him. I like Arizona in this one, and I think this is one of those where people definitely overreact when they win this game big to, okay, Arizona's legit. 2 more noon games before we jump into the 3 o'clock. Baltimore, 8.5 point favorites on the road at the Lions. We've seen that Detroit's offense can move the ball, but then Goff starts checking down. Game goes sideways. Baltimore is banged up. I'm acknowledging that, but I think that they've got kind of a mental leap in that Kansas City win. on Monday night. They won very ugly. Lamar played good in the second half, I guess. First half, tons of mistakes. I think Lamar is due. I think he's due for a big game, one of those reminder games, like I like to say. It's a reminder, hey, I'm out here. I'm doing this shit. So I like Lamar to light it up. I like the Ravens at Detroit, even though they're on the road. Let's see the Ravens win that one. Despite all the injuries, I think they got that one easily. Last noon game, Chargers at Chiefs. 6.5-point favorites at home. So this game's always a close game. At least last year the games were. Hard to look at Week 17 matchup from last year. Chiefs were resting starters. Chad Henne was the quarterback. Chargers win, pretty handily. But again, it's Chiefs just looking into the playoffs. So I don't really judge that one. What I do judge is, Tyrod Taylor last year, punctured lung. They put Herbert in with no notice, no first-team reps in practice, just cold right off the bench. And he balls out. He's a household name overnight. Chiefs win by 3. Very close game. I think it's going to be another one of those. I like the win for the Chiefs here. I like the cover for the Chiefs as well. 55.5 points. I like the over there. I think this could be one of those 34-27 type games. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. KC's defense isn't really good. I see this one being a high-scoring affair, but I like the Chiefs here. Chiefs will probably win this one, especially being at home. Coming off the bad loss to Baltimore, Chiefs win this one. All right, afternoon games. Jets at Broncos. So, you've got mile-high, elevation, rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, going up against a tough defense. So, Denver's got a really nice secondary. Not quite, the no-fly zone that they had a couple years ago, but it's a pretty damn good, talented secondary. Pass rush is nice, even though Chubb is out. He's on the IR, trying to make a comeback later this year. But the Jets, of course, their O-line has been a challenge, has been a major problem all year. Keeps getting injured. Becton, of course, out. So I think this can get ugly for the Jets. 10.5 is a big spread, but I see it. I think I see it. I could see a lot of what we've seen from the Jets the first 2 weeks. Maybe a couple of razzle-dazzle plays from Wilson here and there, but Denver putting this one away pretty easily and putting it away kind of early I like. Miami at Vegas. Vegas is a 3.5-point favorite at home. Who are we getting at quarterback? Is it going to be Tua, which seems unlikely? Jacoby Brissett? Either way, the Dolphins' offense has not been good. And they're going up against a Raiders defense who's had a pretty good pass rush, at least this year to start the season. Derek Carr, he's playing his ass off. It's only 2 games, but everybody's kind of having that Carr conversation again. This one, interesting. If Vegas is for real, they'll score a bunch of points and win this one pretty handily against the banged-up Tua or backup Brissett. If Vegas isn't for real, they'll mess around and keep this one close or lose. Not to say I don't like Miami. I do. I have them as a playoff team, or at least had. We'll see how the quarterback situation pans out. Really good defense. But I think with the quarterback questions and the anemic offense, I don't see how they keep up with the Raiders here. Seattle, -2 at Minnesota. I am not if I'm a gambler, I'm not touching this game with the 10-foot pole. I never know how this game ends. It's always a weird game between these two. We've got missed chip shot field goals. We've got last-second fourth down touchdowns to win. I mean, Seattle-Minnesota is always a wild matchup. This will be a good question, good test for Seattle's defense. Minnesota can move the ball. Seattle wanted you to think early this offseason that their defense has been fixed. The defense hasn't been very good. They've got a lot of names, a lot of talent, a lot of people running around making noise. We'll see. Minnesota's been able to put up points. They've been able to move the ball, even if they can't always punch it in the red zone. These teams are very much mirror images of each other, at least right now, right? So they both gain about 400 to 420 yards of offense a game. They both allow about 450 yards per game. I like Seattle in this one, I think, But again, you never know. I think it'd be more surprising to see Seattle at 1-2 with the offseason they had and the hype they're coming in. Be more surprised to see them at 1-2 than it would to see Minnesota at 0-3. I like Seattle here, but I could be completely off. All right, marquee game of the week. You got Tampa at LA. The Bucs are a good road team. So last year, 6-2 on the road, 9-2 if you want to count the playoffs. Last year, these two teams played. The Rams visited Tampa, won 27-24. It was a frustrating game for the Bucs offense. They got jammed up a lot of times. Seemed like the Rams were able to get good pressure, especially in the middle. And this is, it's going to be a good test. I have this as the NFC Championship game at the end of the year. I have it as LA at Tampa. So we'll see. I mean, Tampa on the road. Last year, Rams win this one on the road. This year, Tampa looks really good. Look, Brady is on fire. He's got 9 touchdowns so far. He looks like he's on a mission. They're doing a lot of those 1-yard fade routes at the in the end goal to go. They want to get Brady a bunch of points, it seems. The Rams defense looks like it's still kind of in off-season mode. I thought this was by far the best defense coming into the year. They still look good. You still got Ramsey and you've still got Donald and, of course, Floyd and everybody in between. But, people are wondering if Wentz is just done, right? And yet they had a lead in the fourth quarter against this Rams team. So we'll see. I could see this one being a lot of fun. I can see it being a lower scoring game than people would think. I like Tampa to win. At -1 on the road, it's pretty much pick 'em. Give me Tampa. Keep the momentum going. Maybe it's different later on in the season, but for right now, I think Tampa wins this one because of all the consistency and the cohesion from the team. Sunday night, we got Green Bay at San Francisco. The Niners have owned the Packers the last couple of years. 3-point favorites at home against the Packers. Classic 3-point spread. Here's what I noticed from Green Bay. I didn't learn a ton from them in their win over Detroit. I'm used to seeing them blow out Detroit. But they ran the ball very well. And I think if they get a little bit more balanced on offense, get back to running the ball, get Jones, feed him, then I think they could go kind of far this year. On the flip side, the Niners at running back have no options. You've got Jermichael Hasty and Jeff Wilson both out. Sermon and Mitchell are questionable. You already know Mostert's been on the IR, but Shanahan offenses find a way to run the ball. Green Bay's defense, is it any good? You got Zadarius Smith on IR. They've really let teams move all around them. Detroit didn't do anything in the second half, Monday night's game, but they were threatening, and they were able to get it third down, just keep moving the chains. I think both teams feel like they have something to prove. I think the winner coming out of this game is going to feel a lot better about themselves, and I think that confidence will get them a lot of positive momentum moving forward. It's going to be a good test for Jimmy G also. He's going up against a defense that, look, Goff was able to move all over. Jameis Winston was able to light up. So we'll see. If Jimmy's able to put up points, the Niners win this one. If we see bad Jimmy, then I think that's more of a doom and gloom sign for this season's outlook. If Jimmy can't move the ball in this Green Bay defense, then maybe they do need to look, at some point this year at the backup quarterback taking over. Got Philly at Dallas, -4 at home for Monday Night Football. So this will be the third different set of quarterbacks that we've had in the last 3 matchups for these teams. First time they met last year, you have Ben DiNucci up against Carson Wentz. Final game of the season that they play. You got Jalen Hurts up against Andy Dalton. Now we've got Dak versus Jalen Hurts. Philly's been able to be competitive in these first 2 weeks because of creative offense and a pretty decent defense. Lots of talent on defense. Well, Brandon Graham, IR. Young, inexperienced quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts typically lean on tight ends. Zach Ertz is out for this game. Protect the young quarterback. Brandon Brooks, also on IR. I like Dallas here. Dallas at home, I have them right on the outside of that super bubble. I think they feel like this could be a statement game for them. Dak seems to play pretty well with all the spotlight on him. They've been right in there in every game, and they had a lead with less than 2 minutes to go at Tampa. We all saw how that one ended. Philly, I think, they catch Atlanta by surprise. I think Atlanta is a lot worse than a lot of people think. I still don't think Philly's all that great. Probably the bottom of the division, in my opinion. I got Dallas winning this one pretty easily, but we'll see. So those are all of our Week 3 matchups. Be sure to tune in Tuesday. We will do a recap of Week 3 action. We'll laugh at every place that I was wrong. Give me some kudos for the areas that I was right. But more than anything, I want you to take a look at Twitter. Make sure you follow on Twitter at therep.network. I put out all my final picks right before the game, so keep an eye. That's what I'll be doing, of course, for Week 3 and throughout the rest of the season. And help spread the word. Get the word out. Tell people about Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Take their phone, go to their Apple Podcast app, subscribe, or if they listen to Spotify, do the same. Tune in. Make sure to tune in every Tuesday morning, Thursday morning for Unsportsmanlike Conduct. That's all I've got for you today. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, that was a good one.